All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to the Investors Performance Group meeting. As you can see, for those of you guys who are regulars, we're in a little bit of a different space here today. We're hoping that this is a temporary move and we're going to be into some more permanent accommodations in the near future here. But for those of you who are joining us online and those of us who are here in person, welcome everyone. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you guys are here for the very first time? Amazing. Well, welcome. We really appreciate you guys coming out, Rainer. Okay, fine. Semantics. All right, well, I appreciate everyone coming out. If you guys are here for the first time, I hope you guys find it very enjoyable. Lots of great information out for you tonight. Our goal here with Investors Performance Group is to be a monthly group for you to come out, network with like-minded individuals, but also take away, different ideas, different concepts to continue to enhance your investment portfolios, your investment careers. So we're going to go right into it. And of course, with new locations come new technical difficulties. Stand by. There we go. So IPG is proudly brought to you guys by the Kelly Fry team. We are a full service real estate investment team that specializes with investors such as yourselves to help you guys become more sophisticated investors, more knowledgeable investors. We have everyone that you need at your disposal, such as mortgage brokers. We've got one in the room with us today. We've got home inspectors, accountants, lawyers, everyone you need who specializes in investments. And quick announcement, why we're here in the training center, I'm so used to saying that, in the library today versus the training center, is because we have moved. It's a big announcement that just took effect literally yesterday. We are no longer associated with Keller Williams Elite Realty, and we are now associated with Keller Williams Ocean Realty. Woo! Thank you, Gail. So it's been a crazy month as we've been getting prepared. So that's why we're no longer in the training center, because we are going to have a new location for our Keller Williams Coquitlam office, and we're hoping to be set up in there by, fingers crossed, everything set up by April. So we're using this as a temporary solution. And tonight we are very excited. Our sponsor for the evening is Jim Garnett with Canadian Tenant Inspection Services, and he's going to be here later today or joining online. I'm not quite sure yet, for another one of our riveting tales from the trenches. Now, again, you guys didn't come here to listen to me ramble on all night, so we're going to dive right into our agenda and start bringing up our speakers. So first, we're going to be bringing up our first guest speaker, which is going to be Herb Locke. He's got an exciting presentation on what he's doing up in the Kitimat market. Then we've got another Airbnb update with Kelly Fry. We're doing an investor spotlight like we did last time. We got some great reviews on that with the interviews we've done with some investors. So we're bringing out Ray Vesely from Apex Western Homes to do a bit of an interview with him. Another Tales from the Trenches segment with Mr. Jim Garnett. Market update, and our keynote for tonight, we're really excited to have Eric out from the City of Coquitlam. So he's going to be letting us know what the heck is going on in this city and what we can expect from an investment. So yeah, round of applause. Yeah, absolutely. Now you know. Now you got to bring the A game. And we got a hot deal for you guys tonight that we found on the market. We're going to show you guys and then wrap it up and try to get everyone out on time. And something's happened with my clicker again. It's because I had to reset my computer, so now things keep interrupting the flow. There we go. Don't forget, take your phones out, take pictures, take videos, post your ahas on Instagram and Facebook, and tag us at Kelly Fry Team. We'd love to see what you guys are learning, what your takeaways are, and we'd love to get the engagement from you guys. So feel free, do that. And let's dive right into it. We're going to bring up our first speaker, Mr. Herb Locke. Herb is the president of Enkind Homes and an avid real estate investor. He had 25 years experience specializing in hazardous waste business and then sold it to the largest U.S. publicly traded company in this space. And this gave him the opportunity to become and develop real estate investments that provide a holistic approach that align with his passion. So I'm not going to talk any more on that. I'm going to let him talk about it. So Herb, come on up. I'm going to give you that there. And we're gonna, that one there, you betcha. I'm gonna lock you in there and you're good to go.
Okay, is the mic on?
You betcha.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should be talking normally or whispering in the library here. So I'm gonna return my 26-year-old overdue book after class here. So, but anyways, thank you for the introduction, Cameron. And as Cameron indicated, my background is actually environmental. So I've been historically in the environmental space for about 30 years. And I've got a chemical engineering background, and I sold my company about 10 years ago to a company called Stericycle. So it was quite rewarding. And the last 10 years or so, I've been working on real estate development, mainly in the Lower Mainland. And in the last 6 months or past year, we found some opportunities up in Kitimat. So let's move to the next slide. So with a raise of hands, who's actually been to Kitimat? So 4 people out of 30. All right, so welcome to Kitimat. There's still snow there. And I think it melts Victoria Day, hopefully, by May. And you get your snow tires off. But one of the things that I like to focus on is investing. I like the term invest with purpose and profit with passion. So what I mean by that is anything you do in life, you have to be passionate about. So, even with real estate, it might be a passive investment, but you have to have a passion for it, or you just simply won't do it. And here's the beautiful rainbow up in Kitimat. And of course, that was Photoshop, right? So just for this occasion. And in terms of Kitimat, for people that aren't aware of, for some of these communities up north, I always like to use analogy of like a restaurant business, mainly because my parents had run a restaurant back in the 70s in northern BC. And currently, the example I use is Mr. Mike's up in Kitimat, where 4 or 5 years ago, you could walk into Mr. Mike's and you could get any seat in the house. But currently today, when you walk in, there's probably a half an hour lineup. So that just shows you the economic state of Kitimat. I just use it, the Mr. Mike's barometer. And we drove by one, I think 3 blocks away, so I'm not sure if there's a lineup or not, but I hear that the Kitimat Mr. Mike's is the top grossing out of the whole chain. And I think Kevin even ate there when he was up there last week.
I have, yeah.
Was there a lineup?
Not the day we were there,
Oh, come on.
because it was later in the day.
Okay. That 3 to 3:30 window,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Yeah, we want to miss the lineup.
Right. So in terms of just general investment, I think currently it's a very challenging environment to get an ROI. And so in the last 4 years, probably the safest money was actually under your pillowcase. You got 0 return, but you didn't lose money. So, as interest rates have started to move down, we're always looking for a better return for our investment. And so this is Kitimat, and it's the LNG project, and it's actually Canada's largest infrastructure project. And there's been $45 billion invested in the last 4 years. So the first time I'd gone up, we drove up to the tanks, and if you can visualize, you go to the gate, and there's probably tanks about 30 feet tall, but there's security behind the gates, and the scope of it is really, the tanks are 4 miles long. So if you can imagine, it'll take you an hour just to walk that distance. So it's a massive footprint. The largest operation I've seen is Sarnia, like the refinery, and this is probably 10 times larger. So it tells you the scope. And I would say LNG is the new sheriff in town, because historically it's been Rio Tinto and Methanex for people that's been up there. And I'm familiar with that area because I did consulting for Rio Tinto over the years. But yeah, we have a new sheriff in town. And on the bottom of the slide, the model that I'm presenting has been very similarly done in Terrace in the past year, where 11 houses were built. They were leased to LNG, and they were sold investors last year. So it's a very similar model that we're doing this year. So this is really the framework of the investment. We're looking at raising $3.2 million. The GP receives 20%. The LP receives 80%. And the first payout is going to go directly to the LP. And it's really based on building 7 single-family homes and then pre-selling in the exit strategy. And we also have some anticipated milestones. So for any project, it's never written in stone, and we'd have to be, have some fluidity. But we plan to raise the funds by April 30th. We want to get a signed commitment from LNG for a 4-year lease by April 5th, which is about 3 weeks, and we're on track for that. And then the leases for LNG employees are going to be effective January 1st, 2025. Construction is going to start as early as May 1st, which is only 5 weeks away. And we have a 4 or 5 month period to pre-sell the homes. We can complete by the end of the year, and the return of funds should happen early next year. So in terms of a general market analysis, we're going to have 4-year LNG leases as employees at $6,300 per month, and that it gives you basically positive cash flow there. So for example, if you had a brand new house in Surrey, I think we'd be hard pressed to get $3,800. So this is a significant lift, and part of that reason is the average employment. The average salary for someone in Kitimat is actually over $90,000. So it's one of the more wealthiest areas of the province right now. There's been a demand for pent-up housing, so almost every house you build is fully leased or rented out. And we're looking at a very quick and efficient build model, and we're going to pre-sell to Lower Mainland investors as a result of the potential high ROI. So once again, the strategy is to build, lease, and exit. One of the advantages that we have is a relationship with the Kitimat building department. So historically, we're able to get permits as short as 3 weeks. And I've been doing some builds, in West Van historically, and we're talking, some of them have been 3 years. So the project can go sideways in that time frame. So I think that's fundamental to get your BP in 3 weeks, and that's a key factor. The other major factor is the long-term lease with LNG. And I know I've invested in the past with out of local areas, and it's always been a headache when you look at finding a new tenant. So in this situation, you have a corporate A client with a 4-year guaranteed lease payment. So it's a tight investment. I would say you put your money in and you just basically go to bed and get your return. You don't have to worry about the tenant. And the exit strategy is to pre-sell to investors. And I can show later on the ROI generated by purchasing one of the houses here. And so here are the partners that we have. Sam actually is here in person. He made a surprise visit, and I'm going to have him speak for 2 minutes on the build since he's here. I'll let him finish his pizza. But and there's 2 other partners, James and Kyler. And what I really like is they are local gurus, local builders. And I think for any success in building, you have to have the local connection, the local builders, and the local relationships with the municipality. And they like playing hockey too, right? Just for your information. And oh yeah, the thing I found odd was, I don't know if it's photo op, but they all seem to be like pushing snowblowers or something. So what are those, Sam?
That's a trawler for concrete.
Okay. I got the wrong season, but. Okay. They got paid for that as a promo, right? So, Milwaukee. Okay, I get it. And this is the spec of the 3-bed. Why don't you come up, Sam? No, just give it 2 minutes. No, you know better than I do. So anyways, Sam builds this. He's an expert. He gets his hands dirty. And what I've actually told him in the past, I said, listen, your builds are too high quality. I said, you got to get the price down. And he said, Herb, this is our culture. This is what I've actually built within our standards as a builder. And he says, I am going to build the highest quality product. And even cabinets, he gets them from the Okanagan. I said, why don't you get them from China where they're cheap? He said, Herb, I stand my word. I'm going to build on quality. And so I respect that. And so all the builds, we could actually take 10% down on cost, but we want to make sure that we're in it for the long run, and any investor is going to resell it at high value. So the build Sam has done, I think he's done close to 20 of them now. And they are by far the highest quality type product for that market. Yeah, I don't even see this product in West Van, so that's a joke. So anyways, for people that like stats, we pulled the sales to active ratio, and maybe I should get Kelly Fry to talk about this, but but anyways, 0.12 is the trigger point where it's a seller's market. So in this ratio, we can see the yellow, which is Kitimat, and we're actually seeing 0.2. So Kelly, is that good? Okay. And once again, this chart shows the list price to sales price. So it's over 1. Is that good, Kelly? Okay, so that essentially means that the sale price is higher than the list price. And I don't see it anywhere else except, the Pacific Northwest. And so this might be hard to see, but this is the most important factor. The ROI is, we're projecting at 20%. So that's the sweet spot. And I was just talking to Kelly earlier on, and we received a trust fund yesterday, and the return was 20%, but it would take 6.5 years. So can you imagine 6.5 years in a real estate cycle? I think I'd rather go to Vegas. So I can share the slide later, but it's very detailed on how we derived the ROI and the split in terms of the GP and LP. And I haven't quite worked out, the cost per build, but for builders out there, in the Lower Mainland, we're probably easily talking $350, $450. And for this particular product, we're getting it down to probably about $230, $240 a square foot. So that's a phenomenal price. Okay, and this is, part A is raising the GPLP funds, and part B is actually pre-selling the single-family homes to investors. And so one of the key factors, again, is the ROI. We're projecting 38.38%. And, based on, for example, appreciation. And we're being conservative because we've actually found 7%. And we penciled in 5% as a mortgage rate. And I think with interest rates potentially falling, it's a good cycle for the pre-sale market. And you're probably noticing that too, Kelly, is that right? The pre-sales are moving a little bit better than they used to?
Well, yes and no, because there's a flipping tax that people are afraid of too.
Okay. And so to de-risk the project, what we've done is similar builds last year in Terrace. They're all successfully leased, and we exited. And in terms of the Mulberry development itself, the first phase, we purchased 7 lots, and I sort of highlighted in pink where they're located. And we strategically picked these ones because we thought they're the better value lots and provide a higher premium. And so I mentioned some of Sam's builds. He really focuses on quality. And, after this completion, once we exited, I like the rinse and recycle approach where it's like Head and Shoulders. You just rinse and wash and do it again. So there's other phases after this project. Once the return is given, you can step into another project. And we probably have 5 years of builds there. So it's a good opportunity to return your equity and grow it. And so I think I probably have a few minutes for questions if anybody has any questions.
And if anyone's in the chat as well, you can throw some questions as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
So 7 homes in basically May 1st to the end of December, that's 8 months.
Yep.
That's a very, very, to me, a really quick turnaround. So with Sam, like, you know, and the trades market in Kitimat Terrace, you know, is that doable?
Well, that's a good
Sorry,
question.
Herb,
Yeah.
just one second. I'm just going to repeat it for everyone online.
Yeah.
So the question was just the timeline for the build based on trade availability. Is that doable to hit the May to December timeline?
Right. So that's an excellent question, Kevin. And historically, it's a challenge to find tradespeople, but Sam has been in that area for a number of years. He's developed great relationships with contractors, and he's the go-to guy, actually, you know, for contractors. But furthermore, he's got his own crew of 20 people. And what I like is when you have your own building crew, you control your product and your pace. So he's actually, in last year, he's done 11. So 7 to me is certainly within the scope of what he's done in the past. And I once again, the key factor is the relationships that he's built with any subs that are required from, you know, electricians to plumbers and so on. So yeah, and that's one of the features of why it's you know, the high ROI, because it's a very short cycle. The money goes in and they'll be returned in a year.
What are you looking at for them?
We're looking at 150,000.
So accredited,
Sorry?
accredited investors.
Well, it's accredited investors, but I have some family and friends. So yeah, it could be a mixture, but it'll be a GPLP. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, Herb's got his contact info. I know you wanted your partner to speak quickly. I think we got a minute to give him if you want. Do you want to say anything at all, or?
No, fantastic.
Okay.
Amazing. All right, so again, Herb's got his contact, so feel free to screenshot that. If you want to reach out, feel free to email us and we can put you in touch with Herb and see what we can do to get this project off the ground. Thanks so much.
Great.
Appreciate it. Grab that, and I'll grab the mic for you as well. Perfect, thank you. All right. And as always, there's slight technical difficulty when I'm typing in the chat. Okay, we're going to go through a quick Airbnb update. Obviously, the timeline for Airbnbs is getting closer as we get towards that May 1st deadline. So Kelly, as usual, is coming up to give us her update on what she is doing with her Airbnb units. So Kelly, come on up. You can give her a round of applause if you want. I can see that. You can hold it if you want.
All right. Now, as Cameron mentioned, we moved offices in the last week, brokerages, and I've been with Keller Williams Elite for almost 13 years. So that was a big change for us, but they switched the brand and we wanted to stay with Keller Williams. So we're now with Keller Williams Ocean. So it did create a lot of volatility for us at the same time that I'm dealing with Airbnb and quite a bit of stress in the last few weeks. Now, as I've previously told you guys, I was operating 22 Airbnbs. I have 6 of them converted. 2 of them are with the MPA Society. And currently, I have 1 undergoing eviction. Now, this is my own fault because I'm too busy and I didn't properly screen this guest because I had a good experience with her. And normally, I do extensive screening. And March 1st, she didn't pay rent. Now, it's escalated today because 3 days ago, I decided to do an occupancy check under Jim and Anna's guidance. Jim will be speaking soon. And Anna suggested maybe you should change the locks. We can say that the landlord, needed a new key. So we did that to create a pressure tactic. And the direct request system for evictions right now is very fast. So we are expecting an order of possession by next Wednesday. She showed up today after 3 days. And of course, the phone started ringing nonstop all morning and, very enraged. And so I called Anna right away. I called one of my assistants who put the sign up and said, you're going to probably have to bring the key to her. And then I forgot to mention to the assistant, go right now, because phone calls were coming in with clients and everything. Next thing you know, the RTB was calling me. So I saw it and I thought, uh-oh, never answer the RTB if you're a landlord, I'm thinking. So I went to voicemail, sent it straight to Anna and Jim. And then Anna called and said, Kelly, you should have sent her right away. You have a half an hour to get there and get her that key. We could violate the direct request otherwise. So all that to say that I should stop doing any of these management placements myself and turn to my professionals, Deepak and Liddell. The reason that I've been doing it lately, I haven't done it for a long time, is because I arbitrage many of the units. So I pay rent like a tenant to the building. I spent a lot of money furnishing them, and I was making the lift on that. So in order to preserve the lift, I was trying to rent them out myself because I have payments on all the furnishings that I leveraged, right? But I see now that the value of my time and sanity is worth more, so I will be looking to them for help since we're running out of time. But I have learned over the last few weeks to boost every ad every 3 days on Facebook Marketplace, keep it at the top, spend the money, whatever it takes. But now so many messages are coming in so fast. And the other problem that we have is that Airbnbs, many people have deactivated their units. So there's hardly any, well, relatively. So all of my units are full right now. So it's hard to get in to show them to prospective tenants. So that's where we're at. I have one unit for sale in Aldergrove. I received an offer. But of course, because it's held in a corporation and it's been collecting GST, there's GST on the purchase. So we didn't come to an agreement on price because of that GST component. So lots of showings, but again, it's booked as well. So the realtor has to work around getting in. So still quite a few to go. So stay tuned for next month.
And later at the bottom, you've got.
Oh yeah, I got another fine from the City of Chilliwack.
No big deal.
So I presented to you guys before where I showed you, they gave me a $500 fine in January. They left me alone for February and they gave me $500 in March. And it's still on the little slip like a police ticket you would get. They've warned me for April, so I'm trying to get them turned over for April. But I do have a guest in one of the units till May 1st. So it's just one of them that's in question that I have to convert and get it off there.
Sorry, what's the fine for?
Well, they have a minimum 29-day requirement, but it's escalated over time. Like I did convert it to 29 days for a while, but one of the units wasn't getting rentals for that long of a period, so I put it back. And then someone reported me to the city again, and then someone put it in the media. I mean, it's kind of spun out of control. So at this point now, I just need to convert them to furnished rental. But the problem in that area is that a lot of the pipeline workers are gone now. That's all dried up, and that was the big demand in that area. So.
All right.
But you skated past it really fast, and if it's not too long of an explanation, you said, your offer, it's held in the corporation, GST. Can you just build that out a little?
Because I collect GST for the Airbnb,
Yes.
when the buyer comes to purchase it, they have to pay GST on the purchase price. So they were trying to negotiate the GST included in their offer price, but that was like $30,000.
And that would get outside of what you're
Yeah, and plus the realtor was very rude. So when you have a transaction with another realtor that's very difficult, it's always, I have found it's best to just move on to find another buyer because the transaction is painful the whole time and often falls apart anyway. So I have a good agent representing me, but he tells me what's going on, right? Yeah.
So just for information, I run 2 Airbnbs in Burnaby. And I finally called the bylaws person through a US cell phone because I didn't
Smart.
want to identify.
Very smart.
I asked her what the definition is of short term, and she says, it's really unclear in our guidelines. And I said, well, how am I supposed to comply with the bylaw if you don't define it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, yes, I know, that's a problem. So I said, are you gonna fine me if I'm doing 30-day rentals? And she said, probably not, we'll work with you. So I'm carrying on with my Airbnb as I do 30-day rentals.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Come May 1st, I'll probably just, if worst case scenario, convert them to 90 days as I'm scrambling, still trying to solve this. But the question that 90 is the provincial rule. It depends on the, which city you're talking, because they are saying that it's the city's bylaws that count in terms of the days, right? But what we don't know is, like Vancouver has a license that you have to insert in your Airbnb ad. Every other area doesn't have that. Will they shut down everybody who doesn't have a license in their post? I don't know. If they don't, we'll be okay for a while. But if they do, and like you would be also affected.
No, I also run a couple of Airbnb in Vancouver, and I couldn't sign up for less than 30 days. They wanted me to give the license. If the minute you put in 30 days, you can go live. So that's what I did. So I also do 30 days in Vancouver.
But you have a license though, right?
No.
Oh, you can.
No, in Vancouver you can do as long as it's over 30 days.
No, but I'm talking about on the post itself when you list it. He's talking about.
Yeah,
The
it's over
post
30
is,
days.
It literally, you fiddle with the date, and if you put 28 days, it doesn't let you post, and if you put 30, it does. So as far as I'm concerned, I stick by the definition that 30 days or longer is longer.
And then you don't have the problem.
That's how I'm interpreting it. So,
But isn't it remarkable that a city like Burnaby, and we're March 21st, and they don't have clarity on this?
oh, it's ridiculous. They're so confused.
Oh, we lost camera. Yeah.
It's the
We
interview.
were in Halifax, September 1st, and in Halifax, they changed the rates similar to here, and it ended April 31st, where you had to have long minimum 30-day leave. So September 1st, when we rented in a hotel room, they had jacked up the rate 50% overnight. And so it's going to happen in Vancouver and Burnaby and both or wherever. The hotel rates are going to go up just on supply and demand.
Well,
I call it-
the Rolling Stones come in July, and Swifty comes in December.
Well, no Airbnb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
we're gonna get.
sorry, we gotta roll on this one.
We're
Gotta roll on this one.
You know, you were gone. I was trying to get it back.
Cruise ship business. Like I've had
Yeah.
lots of cruise ship.
So we can carry that conversation on after. We're tight on timeline in here. But that's definitely a big topic that obviously affects a lot of people out there. All right, so that's our Airbnb update. We're going to bring Kelly back up. Actually, she ran away too fast. We're going to do our investor spotlight now, and we're going to bring up Mr. Ray Vesely as well. Come on up, guys. I'm going to get you guys some chairs. And round of applause. Ray has been an avid investor for many, many years, and Kelly's going to go through a bit of a timeline with him and get to know Ray and what he's done out in the market. Now, Ray, I'll give you mine here, so you can just hold that, and good to go.
You made it.
I did. It's been a busy little while.
So, Ray, unlike many of us, you were born and raised in Vancouver.
No,
Oh, I thought you were.
no, I was born in Willie's Puddle,
Where's that?
Williams Lake.
Well, I mean, you're from BC.
Oh,
Okay, so
but yeah, I came here in grade 10
so from what
from Kamloops.
I know, you started your career as a glazer. Is that right?
Yes, lifeguard actually.
Okay. And how did
I've seen him dive.
it's true, we have. So what led you then to becoming a glazer?
Actually, West Van went on strike, so I had to go look for a job because I was a lifeguard there, and it was a long one. It was back in the 80s, and I ended up in a glass factory actually, and there I started working with somebody that was a builder who went broke in the 70s and wanted to get back into getting back into building, and he convinced me. I was going to buy a place up at Whistler, and he convinced me to buy an empty lot up in Squamish. And then we started building, and he taught me how to build houses and spec houses, and actually he taught me how to be a framer. I was actually a framer first.
How old would you have been at that time?
Mid-20s.
Okay, so quite young. So for those of you who don't know, Ray has built a large building in Mission, changed the face of Mission actually, 90 units, 9-story.
11.
And I thought it was 9.
11
11
stories.
And,
92 units, 11 stories with commercial on the bottom.
and it's valued at close to $30 million.
Somewhere between 31 and 32 right now we're talking.
Okay. So I guess for many of us who are investors, you have to walk us through the journey of how a person comes to the point of just starting in construction to getting to build a building like that and influence a community like that?
How much time do we have?
Cliff note version.
Well, like I said, I met this guy. He was an older gentleman. He was cutting glass at the factory there, and convinced me to buy a property in Squamish. And I always thought of land. My favorite game when I was a kid was Monopoly, and I always wanted to get into land. And so we built some spec houses. He was great at building houses, but his business mind wasn't the best. He didn't understand time value of money. So I kept saying to him, like the growth of the equity growth was outpassing what we were making anyways. So I kind of split up with him, went back to the city. And at that time I was asked to join the Glazers Union and I wanted to get an apprenticeship. That's when I became a glazer. And then I started working on the Vancouver Library, the airport, the first expansion, UBC Library, and lots of different things. And when I was out at the library, I started, one of the guys I was working with, we decided to start our own glass company. Oddly enough, our first project was Mission City Lodge in Mission. It was that hotel there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was in '97. And so shortly after that time, I bought another property and built a house. And then I was building houses while doing glazing. And I was bidding on lots of glass contracts. And during that time, my realtor said, you got to change your name from Apex Glass to something that's a builder's name. I said, okay. So I went to Apex Western Homes. And then I started building more and more spec houses. Up until 2018, I was at about 10 houses in West Van, West Van. And the stress test came. And just around that time, it was just brutal for finding rentals. So I thought I'll pick up a piece of property in Mission. So I picked up a land very cheap, and I built a 68-unit apartment building. And from that apartment building, when I finally finished, a nonprofit came looking for with BC Housing and bought it. It was called Lookout, and that was a great experience. Did well and bought another property. And during 2018, in order to get rid of my houses, I started rent to own. People couldn't buy the place because the bank wouldn't give them money. So I thought, well, I already got the mortgage. I might as well just rent it to them, paid a mortgage type of payment. And so I was doing both at the same time. When I did finish the apartment building in Mission, I moved to Aldergrove, and I actually, right around then, COVID was hitting. It was hard. It started getting hard to sell, so I put a bunch of them up for rent to own, and ended up selling out the place. And 17 of them were rent to owns. Now they're slowly converting to ownership, or they'll sell them. Either way, something like along that lines. Also during that period, I got a lot more rent to owns. So now I'm combining the two a little bit on my strata ones. The 92 unit is a purpose-built rental, so I can't stratify it. I'm in talks with More Than a Roof and Lookout again in purchasing it. They just got to get their funding from the government. And we're starting another project just about 2 blocks away from City Hall. It kind of got a little held up because the city and I were talking about exchanging properties, and I was going to build them a City Hall and our RCMP building, but they're too slow now, so I'm going to go back to condos for sale. And so we're going to get going on that. And
now, for the land that you used or purchased to build this building, how did you come to find out about that land? And
which one?
The one for the 90 units.
90 units?
The tower.
Actually, the previous owner came to me and asked if I wanted to buy it.
He just knew you, or?
I was working on another property, or the other house,
one.
Or the apartment building in Mission. And the owner came by, and first he came by to ask me if I'd build it. And so we talked a little bit, and then he decided he didn't want to build it. And then he came back and said, would you buy it? So I threw him an offer, and he accepted. So.
And did he have plans already done for it?
No, I did the plan.
So what kind of due diligence did you do at that point once you found the land? You just knew what you could do with it, or?
Yeah, it was downtown. Most of your due diligence at City Hall, look at the official community plan
Mhm.
and see what you can do. And there's an appetite for rentals, so that's becoming very prominent. So I was happy to do a rental. I met with all the associations, like there's a bunch of different associations, and what I was trying to find out is because you always have to do a CAC, like a community amenity contribution, and just to see what the community wants, because the best way to build anything or any investment is do what City Hall wants and what the community, and get them both on board, and then you can get your project through. It's the number one thing in developing. And believe it or not, they didn't have a laundromat, so I put a laundromat.
I know that because I have a lot of Airbnbs, and for all of our comforters,
so
it's a huge problem.
That was a CAC, but
yeah,
it was.
And
it worked well for my rentals. I've been a landlord for 40 years, 40 years, 35 years. And water is always a problem. Noise is a problem, but water is a problem. So I didn't put laundry in there. I put a laundry mat downstairs. So of course, we can only raise our rent by whatever the government allows us, but they don't control the laundromats. And
that's pretty good. Now, how did you find working with the City of Mission? We've had the City of Mission out to speak, and what was your experience like relative to other cities? I know you're not overly fond of Maple Ridge.
Or North Van, for that matter now. Well, my experience has been amazing. I love Mission.
Yeah, they're very open.
Yeah, even the mayor's jumping on board with me, trying to help me sell this, and it's been a great experience. I actually had a development just recently in the district of North Van. I bought 2 lots that were sandwiched by district property, and it was zoned in the OCP for multifamily. So with their land and my land, we could build 85 units. So I proposed to do, and this district of North Van's on the naughty list for rentals. So I proposed to build a 85 unit rental building and no parking because the other problem in the city, so I'm always trying to do what's best for the community. In North Van, everybody's against traffic right now. The traffic is brutal. So what I was trying to do, and it's close to Deep Cove, and everybody's into bicycles. And the missing community in North Van is the age group from about 20 to 40. Everybody's exiting North Van, and that's because they can't find affordable. Well, the best way to make something affordable is not pay for parking, because parking stalls can be $65,000 to $100,000 per stall. And so if you can eliminate the parking, give them lots of bike parking with EV chargers, and car shares. I also did a car share at the one in Mission to eliminate some of the parking. Because if you think about an apartment, if it's 400,000 or 500,000, if you're paying 100,000 for parking, that's a good chunk. So you can really lower your cost, and that can be passed on.
Now, how long did the build take on this building?
Anyways, the district decided not to approve that.
Oh,
so I said, I'm out of here.
You just sold it.
And guess who bought it?
The district.
There seems something a little bit wrong with that, but
not surprising.
I'm pretty sure they're going to end up taking my plan
and copying it. Yeah. Oh my God. So with this Mission building, how long did it take to build?
It's running over. We're at 2 years and about 4 months, and we're about to be finished next month.
What has building this building taught you?
Geez, what has this taught me? That's a good question.
I know you've had some challenges along the way, mostly with interest rates rising.
I never predicted interest rates to rise this much. Like, you put a good contingency in place, but that was a big one. That's a $20 million loan when it goes from prime plus 2. So about, I think it was around 5 when I started. Now it's around 9, something like that. Percent on 20 million, 4% upcharge.
Now, given that you're a builder and developer, any advice for people if they're hiring a builder? what to watch for?
Just track record, really. Due diligence. Yeah, track records, everything.
It's always exciting talking to Ray. The other day I called him and he said, I can't talk, I'm going to a meeting. I said, that's okay. He said, I have to go talk to David Eby. And I said, what? You tell him he's ruining our province. And then he said, I'll call you back later. And so it was a secret meeting with only 20 people apparently in Mission.
Yeah, something like that.
And,
Well, there's a bit more, I suppose.
and what was
30.
the nature of the meeting? I know you were talking about your building, but
My building was one of the topics.
you just happened to get invited.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Well, I'm working. The mayor and the CEO are trying to help encourage with the sale for the funding with more than a roof, because they really want more than a roof to get it.
More than a roof. Oh, that's
It's a
an organized.
nonprofit housing society.
Now, can you walk us through a little bit about how you structured the financing on this deal, how much capital it took to get into it? I know that you probably used the CMHC's program. Oh, you didn't?
No.
No. Oh.
Envision Financing gave me the funds.
And so did you bring together some investors, a certain amount of capital? Was it a limited partnership?
Well, it's always generally a JP, a general partner, and then limited partners, and then the property's held in the Bear Trust for the LPs or limited partners. And the JP, which is myself, we run the project. I go get the loan and stuff like that. And I have a very good relationship with Envision. I think I owe them $50 million or something.
Well, I think I called you one night and you said, I can't talk. I have the president of Envision at a hockey game or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that possible? Yeah. So, as I say, it's always exciting.
Well, with the rent to own, because I'm doing mortgages consistently, and I actually tap out on those guys. So I have to go to several institutions. One of my prime things is to get to know all the bankers. I've got good seats at the hockey game, and they're always invited.
Now, we met Ray because we had sold quite a few condos in a development. We had sold about 70 units, and we had 2 that couldn't close. And somehow one of the investors found out about Ray, that he would do a rent to own for them. So Ray stepped in on 2 of the Georgia units in Langley and purchased them on behalf of the investors and did rent to owns with them so that they didn't lose their deposits or get sued. So we were super grateful to have met Ray, and then we've worked with them since then. That was right in the heart of COVID, actually, March 2020.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I think one of the most amazing things about Ray is he's so humble, for starters, and also so creative, always coming up with unbelievable ideas. And yeah, if you get the chance to talk to him this evening, I highly recommend it.
We do have a little bit of time. If anyone does have any questions for Ray, we can always throw it to the crowd as well. Ray, if you're okay with that.
Yep, sure.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Ray? Guy's a wealth of knowledge. I think you just stunned everyone.
Oh, Sean.
So you started doing spec houses in West Van, North Van?
Squamish.
Oh, and then transition to?
When I came back from Squamish, I split up. I started as a glazer, and then I was working on a lot of commercial.
Okay.
And then I went back to doing spec houses, but then I went in North Van. And then people started wanting to invest with me, so I kind of started building quite a.
Did you ever have a spec house that didn't sell and you were stuck with the mortgage for a while?
In 2018, I had 10 of them. Thus, rent to own was created.
How did you do through that period?
The rent to own? A little nervous.
When you were holding on to stuff you couldn't sell?
I was very nervous. I was doing a lot of thinking. I never actually heard of rent to own, but apparently it was around. And but I know mortgages really well, extremely well. I went to UBC for urban land, but I was just trying to think, how am I going to get around this? Because people were interested in buying, they just wouldn't qualify. Well, I already had the mortgage, so why don't I do that? Actually, you want to hear something funny, is I had a guy from the vice president from Goldcorp wanted to buy one of my houses. Found out that he was coming from London. Found out he had to pay a foreign buyer's tax, and he was going to back out of one of the deal. And I said, well, wait a minute, you're moving here, aren't you? Yeah. You're going to get your permanent residency. Yep. Yeah. Why don't you just move in, give me the down payment, pay the mortgage payment that you would have paid anyways, and then when you get your permanent residency, we'll transfer it over and we'll carry on with the sale. So that worked and it saved, and I got a sale. I actually thought, well, that's great. How to avoid the foreign buyer's tax. So I started advertising that. And guess what? Somebody from Linkpool newsfeed decided, oh, this guy's a bad person. Wrote a nasty article, said, this guy is avoiding foreign buyer's tax. Here's the penalty. It's like whatever, many years in jail. And he's under investigation with the finance minister. And I don't know, I'm a bad guy. And that evening, I got a phone call from the CEO of Better Business Bureau. She said, Ray, you can't be on the board if you're under investigation with the finance minister. I'm like, wouldn't they tell you? So next day I phoned the finance minister and I said, so why wouldn't you tell me you're investigating? Well, I would have gladly had a lawyer look at all this. And they said, she said, well, I saw it. It came across my desk. And the very bottom of it says you have to get your PR before you transfer it. So there was nothing wrong with it. That was the investigation. Best advertising I ever had. Phone calls were arranged. CBC. I did an interview at one of my houses. Of course, everybody wants to avoid taxes. So, hey, would you do? I don't really want your house. Can I buy another one? Sure. I got a great relationship with the banks. And then I started buying places for people. And so a business came out of it.
You turned the dilemma into a business success.
Yeah.
You were looking for some opportunities.
Made lemons
Isn't that how most businesses get started, right?
made lemons out of, or lemonade out of lemon.
Cool. We had
I think
another one
so.
here, and then, sorry, Herb was next, and I'll get to you there. So,
You did financing through Envision. What was the loan to value you got?
That one I got about 80% loan to value.
Did you try other banks as well besides Envision, or do you have a loan relationship with them?
Not for that one. I just went straight to Envision.
So Ray, have you developed any light industrial? If not, why not?
I haven't, and I don't know it that well, to be honest.
Because I think light industrial, the returns are much higher and the risk compared to something.
Yeah, to be honest, I just never really looked at it. It's hard to know everything.
Yeah, when you got a model that works, you stick to it, right?
Yeah.
One last question, then we got to roll on. So, Furman.
Do you have a formula to calculate lift from when you buy until after the rent to own?
A formula?
How do you calculate it?
Just calculating your rent-to-own returns.
Oh, are you talking about for rent to own or?
No, the price. of the
Projects?
property. You buy the property, right?
Yeah.
And then you sell in 2-3 years.
All you can really do is look at history, right?
No, I know why you're asking. His rent to owns are under a different structure than the ones that we've done in the past. He keeps the price the same, but he charges a higher interest rate. So he makes a spread on the interest rate.
I see what you're talking about. Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I didn't know anything about it, rent to own. I just came up with my own version. And then when I met Kelly and then I did some research, apparently it's quite popular in the States, but that other formula is a lot different than what I do. I understand banking extremely well. I just model mine like a bank because what I really want is people to exit. And so like, I think the other one, there's a capital appreciation.
Yes.
I don't do capital appreciation for that. I want people to build up the equity in there. So my payments per month are much higher, but they build a lot more equity and they're going to get out. And I don't really care if they get out or not. It's like I can renew because I'm still getting my returns as I go. I can explain more to you. It is quite different.
All right. Well, Ray, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Snap that back there. We'll spy on your conversations afterwards. Thanks so much, Kelly. All right. Move these out of the way and we'll keep the ball rolling. All right. So we're going to move into one of our popular segments here. This is called Tales from the Trenches. So if you guys are new here, we're actually on season 8. This started off as kind of a bit of a joke at first where we said, let's show the other side of real estate investing. Because when you go to most seminars, what do they promote? Buy a couple of properties and you're retiring, sipping martinis on the beach, right? That's the typical, like you become instantly wealthy. Then you buy that first property and then the tenant's toilet backs up and causes a flood. And now you're dealing with all that. So we show the other side. And it's to do 2 things. One, to show you what could happen and how to either A, completely avoid it and do the right thing, or 2, if it's unavoidable, like, I had a flood in one of my properties, so I had to learn how to go through insurance and everything like that, how you can handle it in a much more efficient manner in order to protect your investment. So to do this, we are bringing back a regular character for us, Mr. Jim Garnett. And today's episode is It's Only Relative. Here you are, my friend. I could clip that too, and I don't think you have any slides. So, by the way, Jim is our sponsor tonight. So huge shout out to him.
So, just a quick survey. Anybody here have children, grandchildren? Just keep your hands up. Okay. So, how much do you love them? Do you love them so much that if they were in trouble, you'd always be there for them? Okay. Okay, so if they had a huge drug problem, would you still be there for them? Open the door, come on in, find a bed, Okay, so if they're in trouble with the police all the time and the police are always at your door coming to get them and taking them away, you'll still be there for them no matter what? We're down to just a couple of hands here and a couple of wavering, okay? So that's what I want to talk a little bit about. So there's a lady, she's a grandmother, she lives in a house in Surrey. And she has a grandson who is problematic. He's problematic because he's in trouble with the police all the time, and they're always at her door. He's problematic because he's a drug addict, and he has a lot of friends who are interesting. So Granny dies in December 2023, and she leaves behind to look after her estate her ex-daughter-in-law, who is the executrix for her estate now. And, oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you, Granny is a hoarder, okay? So this house is a fairly large house and it's full of stuff, okay? So after she dies, the ex-daughter-in-law comes along and says to the grandson, you're going to have to find another place to go because I'm going to have to liquidate the estate. And as it turns out, the heir, the guy who's going to inherit, is actually blind. And so he's not in a position to do anything about this. The ex-daughter-in-law, she's going to get this looked after. Well, the grandson doesn't want to leave. He's got a good thing. And he's really busy rifling through everything in the house, seeing what he can find of value. And he's got a bunch of questionable friends, and they come over and party with him at the house, and they're all going through stuff, seeing what they can find. It's kind of like a big scavenger hunt going on. So in the meantime, the police show up at the door one day because the grandson has a dozen warrants outstanding. So they arrest him on the warrants, they take him away, he goes to court, and the judge says, well, we'll release you, but you're going to have to show up for court when you're due again, and you need a place to stay. So if you got a place to stay, and his lawyer says, oh, yes, Your Honor, this is in February 2024. You remember she died a couple of months ago. The lawyer stands up and says, yes, he's living with his grandmother over here. And so the judge says, oh, that's wonderful. Maybe your grandmother can help you with stuff. And he's, oh, yes, okay. So they released him, and away he went. So he's back to the house, and his friends show up, and the party's on again. Everything's going, and it goes for about another week or 10 days. And Kelly, you're a realtor. Maybe this will make sense to you. The house is hoarded. It hasn't been cleaned out. The executrix is really busy wanting to get it sold, so she engages a realtor, and the realtor is going to come show the house now in its current state. Okay, really going to maximize on the value. So anyway, the realtor comes to show the house, brings her prospective buyer in, and they're going through the house, and they get to the kitchen, and they find the grandson is passed out in the middle of the kitchen floor in such a way that they really have to climb over top of him to get anywhere that they want to go to look at the rest of the house. So they do that. And at that point, when that report goes back to the executrix, she decided it was time to maybe get somebody else involved. So she gave us a call and said, can you help us? We said, yeah, we can probably help you. So first thing we do with anything is get an agent authorization. If you're dealing with anything like this or somebody else, get them to sign something that says you can act on their behalf and that they own the place. The next thing we do is we pull out a state of title certificate, and we get that so that if we end up dealing with anybody in authority, they'll understand what this is all about. And so the next thing we did was we pulled Guideline 13 from the Residential Tenancy Act, and that's Guideline 13 talks about co-tenants' rights and responsibilities and all that sort of thing. And in that, they talk about the fact that occupants have no rights or responsibilities under the Act. Well, as it turns out, the grandson fits in there pretty good because there's no tenancy agreement. He's not paying rent. He's never paid any rent. He's just there because he's a good grandson. And that's how that's working out. So the other thing that I pulled to take with me before I went over there was a case that I had been involved in back 2019, I guess, in Surrey, where the arbitrator was really good about articulating the difference between a tenant and an occupant. And because of that, it's a nice document that I carry around with me. And if I ever have to run into somebody in authority, which I did in this case, then I've got it to fall back on. So armed with all those things, I head off. And on the way there, I'm thinking, maybe I'll just call the police and see what they're up to. So in the meantime, my phone rings, and it's the executrix. And she said, I was talking to the grandson's parole officer, and she says that there's more warrants for him. So I said, perfect. I'm getting close to the house, so I got to go now. And I hang up, and I call the police, and I said, hey, if you got somebody available, I'm going to this house, and here's the guy's name, and he's probably wanted. You may want to have somebody stop by there. I'm 15 minutes, 20 minutes away from the house. I get there, and there's nobody home. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's not really good. I should call the police and cancel. So I called the police, and they said, well, Constable so-and-so is dealing with this, and can I have him phone you? I said, sure. So I get to the house, and the house is insecure, and I start going through it, checking it out and stuff. I call the locksmith, and I said, okay, come on down here. I'm going to get you to change some locks, because anytime you ever do anything like that, you don't want to leave the house insecure, and you want to make sure that if there's nobody in there, that nobody does come in there unless they've got a key. And, any other way of coming in, and they're probably going to get arrested. So anyway, I'm on the phone with the police officer when he calls, and he says, I've already been there. He said, I got there and ran into him right away and arrested him, and he's in jail. So I said, perfect. So anyway, we thought, okay, that's it. He's gone. So we get the locks changed. We get the house secured. And I thought, okay, now tomorrow morning, he's going to get brought up in front of a judge. And the judge is probably going to say, well, I can't release you again unless you got a place to live. And he's going to say, I'm still at grandma's house. And that's how this is going to come down. So I thought, oh, this isn't good. So I said to the executrix, I said, are you in a position to go to court tomorrow morning? And she said, no. And I said, fair enough. I said, I'll go to court tomorrow morning on your behalf. So first thing in the morning, I up to the courthouse, hunted down the prosecutor that was going to be speaking to this matter when it came up, and kind of laid it out for him and said, you know what, this is what's going on. This is what happened before. If you want the same thing to happen again, release him, and let everybody think he's living with his grandmother, and we go from there. So the prosecutor said, well, leave it with me. And he said, I don't think he's getting out today. That was a week and a half ago, and he's still not out. So long and the short of it, the house is being emptied. They think they've got a firm offer on it, so it's going to be sold. And by the time he gets out of jail, it won't be grandma's house anymore. It'll be somebody else's. So that's relative story number one. Relative story number 2. So a family is in financial distress, and they almost lost one house. They were able to sell it before they lost it, and they were able to get situated into a townhouse in a really nice townhouse complex, and they lived there for, the last 6-7 years. And all of a sudden, they started getting in financial trouble again. And you know what, like with all families, those who had your hands up, brother-in-law steps up and says, why don't I help you out? He says, I'll deal with your mortgage. So he looks after the mortgage, and they're living in the house now mortgage free because the brother-in-law is carrying the load. And everything's going pretty well for the most part, other than the fact that they have a son who, well, he gets in trouble with the police on occasion, and he also has a drug problem. And long about last October, the father dies in the family, and the mother moves in with her daughter. And the other daughter that was left at home got married, and she moves in with her husband. And there's only one person left. And that would be the son with the drug problem who gets in trouble with the police. So the brother-in-law, we'll call him Peter for now, and we'll call the son David. So Peter, he's trying to get David out of the house, and David's not interested in going. And in fact, David getting lonely in the house, so he goes and he adopts a Doberman Pinscher that was a rescue dog, had been abused and everything else, and it really didn't trust people to start with. And the breed can be a little bit aggressive when they want to be. And everybody in the townhouse complex and all the members of the family are scared of this dog. So starting in about November, the dog became known to the Strata Council. The Strata Council started writing letters and finding the owner because the dog was still there, and it became an ongoing problem. So then they get to the point where David, he doesn't want to leave the house. And Peter says, look, I'm going to come in and renovate this place, and I'm going to sell it. And your mother, of course, is going to get a bunch of the proceeds, and whatever monies I've put into it, I'm going to get back. And David, you're going to have to find a place to go. And David says, well, it's not happening. No, just not happening. So Peter called the police, and he said, this is a problem. And the police said, yeah, it sounds like a family matter. You're going to probably have to deal with it in some way or another. But, there's really no crime that's happened here, so there's nothing we can do. And so Peter ends up calling, and we have this conversation. I said, Peter, does he pay rent? And he said, no, he does not pay rent. I said, is there ever any money exchanged hands? There's never been any money exchanged hands. So there's no kind of written or oral agreement in place that says that he can live here forever. No, it's not happening. So can you help us with this? We said, okay. So we wrote a letter to David, and we went over and we posted it on the door. First, I knocked on the door. The dog was on the other side of the door, started barking. I thought, okay, Doberman Pinscher, bit of an attitude, an abused dog. Post a notice. So I post a notice, and away I go. And I told him that he had until the 18th to be out, which was this past Monday. And told him 1 o'clock in the afternoon would be it, and that at that point we would be arriving, and we'd bring the police with us if necessary to keep the peace. We'd be bringing a locksmith because we'd be changing the locks, and that he should have everything of his moved out of the house by 1 o'clock on the 18th. So we get there on the 18th, and I get there on the 18th. I pull around the corner, and there's about 6 or 7 family members now all assembled. And they want to have a discussion about this, and said, you can't go in there. You can't change the locks. This is our house. We live here. And the mother and the sister who get married were adamant that here's our driver's licenses. This is our place. We live here. You can't throw us out of our place. This is it. I said, well, that's great, because if this is your place, would one of you please go in and get the dog and bring it out here? And at that point, they decided that, well, they weren't really living here, sort of thing, but it was still their address on their driver's license. So we kind of established really quickly that their story had some holes in it. So having a conversation with the daughter, and the daughter says, well, I don't know where my brother is. He hasn't been answering his phone. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. So really, I don't know what we can do other than, maybe call the animal control people and have them come and look after the dog. So we said, well, okay, you go ahead and try to phone them. In the meantime, somebody else can try to phone David and see if we can come up with David. So eventually, one of the family members is down the end of the cul-de-sac on the phone and talking, hands are going, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe you got a hold of David. And then all of a sudden, we're standing down in front of this townhouse, and banging happens on the wall inside, and then loud voice and everything else. So it was, oh, I guess David's at home. So anyway, we told David that he had until 2:30 at that point to be out of the house. And at that point, if he's not, then the police will be coming by. Better not just throw that out there and not have the police show up. So I call the police and say, here's the deal. Can you come by and keep the peace? We're going to ask David to leave the house, and no problem. 3 police cars show up because they looked at the address and they said, oh, David's place. We're going there. So not just one of us, 3 of us. So as soon as the 3 police cars pull up, David's out of the house with the dog on a leash, and down the road he goes, and he's gone. Now, the police wanted to have a discussion. The family were still adamant. Now they're adamant again that they live there. And so we had to go through this whole conversation. And again, I brought a kit with me. I had the agent authorization. I had the state of title certificate. And as it turned out, the mother was 1/100th owner of the place on the state of title certificate. And she felt that that gave her all kinds of authority to do whatever she wanted to do with the place. And I had to explain to her that 99 beats 1 all the time. And I said, like, this isn't going to work, okay? So I had the state of title certificate. I had the agent authorization. I had the guideline 13, because David is nothing but an occupant, and I had that other Surrey decision. And the police were more than interested in looking at that stuff, and after they looked at it, they said, yep, we don't have a problem with this at all. Do what you got to do. And so we got the locks changed. We ended up giving the mother a key because they want to come back and take stuff out of the place. So they have the key on the proviso that if David shows up there and even drives by in a car and somebody sees him, the deal's off. And they'll lose the key. We'll change the locks. They're not getting back in, and it'll move forward. So at the end of the day, Peter was delighted with the outcome. He says, at least now, he says, the groundwork is set in place so that I can get the place, they can get it emptied out, I can get in there, renovate it, sell it, and get this dealt with. So we're in a position to move forward. So that's it. 2 relative stories, be careful who you invite into your home, and it might come back and bite you in the end, even if they're relatives. So there you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'll snag this one back here from you.
You can.
All right. We always love having Jim come out with those stories because, again, they're really insightful. You learn a lot about the RTV because he does deal with this quite often. And, anytime you are renting a property and you're dealing with tenants, you can have some absolutely amazing tenants out there. But what happens if you don't do the proper screening, Kelly, and you end up with that one tenant that's causing trouble, right? So having people like Jim and his team available to help you guys, they know the RTB inside and out. They've been to arbitrations, and they're there to help you guys deal with that in as efficient a manner.
One other thing.
Yep.
I have a really good story for next month.
He always does that too. He goes, I'm working on the next story right now.
Anybody that has my email address. So this is about This is about a person that was evicted out of a property. And they were evicted because of something in their tenancy agreement. If anybody wants to email me between now and next month's meeting and see if they can figure out what it was that they were evicted for, I'll throw up a Tim Hortons gift card. Whoever guesses it.
So that's
or the first one to guess.
Jim at ctiservices.ca.
Jim G.
Jim G.
at ctiservices.ca.
There you go. Jim G at ctiservices.ca. So you guys can throw that in there, throw some guesses, and see who's going to win that for next month. Then we'll remind me later, and we'll put that on next month's agenda as well. Okay. All right, so that is our Tales from the Trenches. All right, we're going to dive into the quick market update, and then we're going to get to our keynote speaker. So what is happening in the market right now? And this is a conversation I actually had recently with an investor, and this is where I say you got to be very cautious on the information that you hear. She tells me, oh my God, the market is insane right now. I heard it from somebody. And I said, yeah, I mean, it's picking up, but it's in segments, right? So we need to understand that we have to look at all the different markets in and around the Lower Mainland as micro markets. And even within those micro markets, there's even more sub markets. When we're looking at the city of Coquitlam as an example, you know, the west side of Coquitlam versus Coquitlam City Center might be doing two different things. Then we go deeper on that. We've got even deeper sub markets. We've got condo markets. We've got townhouse markets. We've got detached markets. And even in those, we've got, let's say, condos, 1-bedroom condos, 2-bedroom condos, age. There's so many factors that go into it. So a blanket statement that the market is picking up, while it might be true in a lot of categories, isn't true in every category. So that's why we like to do this market update, really show you what's going on and dive in there. Now, I did a video on my YouTube channel where I made some predictions, and you can see me consulting my crystal ball. So we all know, you know, predictions are just that, we're guessing. But so far, what I've noticed is some of my predictions have started to come true. And that's strictly from what we do here today is we analyze the data. And as investors, that's how we can make smart moves with our investments is take a look at the data, take a look at the trends, and make an educated decision. So if you guys scan that QR code, that'll take you to that video, and you'll see some of the predictions I had compared to what we're talking about today. So from the real estate board, housing market sales continue to pick up heading into the spring. So real estate market sales picking up for spring. Me, hey, we're finally happy. Let's take a look at it here. So first things first, let's take a look at inventory overall. So this is the blanket statement that I said you can't take for gospel. When you take this information, you then have to talk to your agent and look at the microeconomics of those areas. However, in Greater Vancouver, that's the green one here. We've got Fraser Valley and then Chilliwack District. We can see here as we head into that spring market, we are seeing the inventory starting to go up. Pretty traditional of the typical spring market. You could see it also back here. This is February, March, April. We saw the increase in inventory last year. So when you have an increase of inventory, well, that's a good thing because there's going to be more available units for buyers in the market. However, we have to look at that rate of growth versus the rate of the sales that are happening. Sales denotes our demand. And what we can see here, just like last year, I've talked about it before I go to that next slide. What happened last year around this time? Can anyone remember? Interest rates paused. And in fact, fixed rates came down a little bit, I believe, last year. And inventory climbed. We're going to show sales. What's happening right now? Mortgage brokers?
Interest rate Bank of Canada's paused, but fixed are going down.
Similar scenario. So what that impact is already starting to show on the sales side of things is we had a spike in sales much greater than the inventory increase that we had. And you can see that steep increase here. We're already seeing the demand is picking up. Now, again, these are generic numbers overall. When you go into those micros, we might see more demand. Let's say, for example, I had a condo in Mission and I had a condo in Port Coquitlam. Condo in Port Coquitlam sold in 2 weeks in multiple offers. Condo in Mission took me about 5 months to sell. Right? So that's why we got to look at those microeconomics, not just the numbers. But overall, we are seeing demand spiking comparatively to the inventory increase that we're seeing. So when we have more demand versus inventory, what tends to happen on prices? What's the trajectory? It's going to go up. So we are starting to see that, and you're going to see it in the numbers when I kind of start breaking down those micro markets. We can see here the upward trajectory, just like spring last year. Look at the Fraser Valley. It's crazy. But we are seeing that trajectory up. Over last year, we started around this time, 947. We're sitting at over 1 million as an average in the Fraser Valley. We are slightly above where we were last year as well. So if this trend continues, we are going to see prices start to rise. So diving into some of the markets, we're going to start further out. And we're going to work our way back in. A lot of the markets that we do work in with most investors are the markets that are a little bit more affordable, obviously, for an investor. So that's where we'd like to focus. The Chilliwack market already over last year. And again, we saw prices rise. Now, keep this in mind. The prices started to rise last year after we had already gone through a market slump in 2022. So when we see that they went up, they came back down if we look at those slides, and now they're going back up. We're still net a much higher percentage over the start of 2023. But we're still below where we capped out in 2021 if we were to back that up a little further. But detached has already risen back up 15.7%. Getting close to that $1 million average again. It was over $1 million in 2021. We can see days on market are dropping in the detached category. Inventory is up very slightly. Again, we are seeing that as we head into the spring market, but 4.5% increase is not very much. Townhouses, 18.2% over last year, averaging just over 600,000. Days on market is still just over a month and a little bit. It is up 95%, but that's still not long. If you sell a property in just over a month, it's really not that long to get a property sold. And we're down 54 townhouses in Chilliwack right now. That's not very much. And same in condos over here, up slightly, just over 364,000. Abbotsford market, up slightly on the condos there. And again, it's the attached market, because again, this is now an average of 1.2%. The average buyer in a detached property in Abbotsford is going to have more down payment, right? Anything over $1 million, they require 20% down, which means they're not the average first-time home buyer necessarily getting in. However, these markets are still more affordable, and that's why you're seeing larger gains, because first-time home buyers can still get into these categories, or those with less than 20% down. We're down across the board on days on market. Things are starting to sell faster, and we are up in the detached market again, down in inventory and condos. And again, we talk about this. This is the affordable market. Inventory is tight, whereas the attached market, those might sit a little longer than necessarily the condos. Mission market is back over $1 million. In fact, it's over 1.1, up 4.9%. So we are seeing some growth in that market. Inventory on detached is up. I am finding that it's still taking, you can see here, it's up 11.9%, 47 days. It is taking a while for detached to sell. The days on market are long. Condos, again, that condo did take a while, 37 days. However, we can see here the inventory increase in the condos. Now, when I've started doing this, those who've been a regular member, I mean, the condo market in Mission used to be like 3, 9. There wasn't much inventory in the attached market. We are seeing, as they start to densify, more condos and more inventory is coming to the market on a regular basis. Now, with that being said, a lot of that inventory, I know at least out of that 40, about 10 of those were in one building alone because the building had just completed. And there's several others also down on Wren and Raven right on Lougheed Highway. And townhouses, only 32 listings. I mean, still, there's not that much inventory in that area as people start to realize they're moving into the attached market. It used to be a detached heavy market for sure. Langley, we do a lot of sales in Langley, a lot of pre-sales in Langley, up 12.6, back up over $1.7 million. Inventory is up across the board in these two categories, down a little bit in the condos. Again, condos and townhouses, these do fluctuate quite a bit in the inventory because there's so much development in the Langley area. What happens is a building will allow an assignment. You'll get a flood of listings, so inventory goes up. Then the building closes, inventory comes off the market. Then people resell, inventory comes on. So you have to really understand those markets quite deeply on what's happening, which buildings are moving, what's not. But again, we're up across the board over last year. Maple Ridge, huge gain in the detached market. There was a huge jump over last year. A lot of the reason why, I want to kind of talk a little bit deeper on this. The reason why we're seeing these large gains is because the Fraser Valley also saw the largest hit when the interest rates started going up, because they also had the largest gains during the pandemic. When everyone was taking the Vancouver, getting out of Vancouver, moving because I can work remotely, I want more space, I want more everything. we saw the Fraser Valley as one of the fastest growing regions in the Metro Vancouver area. But what happens when it overinflates, too many people move and it jacks that up. The minute those interest rates started going up, those rates came, or those values came crashing down. But now as the market's turning again, they have the high water mark was set. So they have the easiest path to get back to that because people have already set a precedence for what they are willing to pay out in these markets. Again, up on the inventory across the board, still not a lot of townhouses. That's really the townhouse market, the attached market. That's really that missing middle that you see a lot of people talk about. We really need some more of that product hitting the market. We've got a lot of densification in condos in a lot of areas. Surrey, been pretty balanced over last year, up 1%, just under 1.5 million, just 10% here and 6.6. Again, inventory is rising in all categories following what's happening in the traditional spring market. And then we jump over to Vancouver just as a comparison, get out of the Fraser Valley. Vancouver has been steady for the most part through this entire interest rate hikes. And a big part of that is because of these prices. If you're going in and affording a $1.9 million home, you're likely able to afford it. You're going in there knowing how much it is. Interest rates impact you a little bit, but not as much. And we found that Vancouver, for the most part, has been fairly steady through it. We haven't seen huge drops. So again, still up slightly. Vancouver East, it's almost breaking $2 million as an average detached home price. It's crazy right now. And obviously, if I put Vancouver West, I should say, up here, it's going to be over 4 million, right? I used to show it, now I take it down because it's just who's investing in the Point Grey. All right, so up a little bit in inventory across the board. And again, we're like 1.15 for townhouses now. So again, buyers in this category putting at least 20% down and still affordable in the condo market out there. So that's why we can see, as most investors, if you're looking for cash flow, if you're looking for any sort of easy access to build a portfolio, most of our investors do go out into the valley. We do have investors who do the right plays with the right investment strategies in these markets. That's why we do show them, but you definitely have to have some deeper pockets to be able to invest in these markets. So that's it. Don't forget, if you've been, gaining a lot of ideas, ahas, you want to just take a photo of me because I look so fantastic. Take those photos, post them on your Instagram, post them on Facebook. And with that being said, I'm going to stop talking again, and I'm going to bring up our keynote for the night. So Mr. Eric Kalnins, did I say that right?
You did.
Perfect. Eric. I looked at it like 10 times before tonight. So Eric is the manager of economic development in the city of Coquitlam. We love having representatives from the cities come out because they're really the ones boots on the ground, truly, to let us know what's happening. And you can then say, hey, I really like the direction they're going. I want to, maybe invest in those areas. He was formerly the tourism manager for 10 years before he became the manager of economic development. And he's going to bring some valuable insights to the forefront on economic advancement and community enrichment. And with that being said, I've got everything loaded up right for you. So you're going to click that one, and I will give you that right there.
Beautiful.
And without further ado, Eric, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. I don't get this kind of reception from council, so thank you. No, I do. They're pretty nice. So it's funny. I thank you for your time here. I met Kelly at a Austin Heights Business Improvement Association networking event and invited me a couple times, and this time I could make it. So I'm happy to be here. I live in Coquitlam. I grew up in North Burnaby. My dad's house is still in North Burnaby, and it's funny listening to everyone tonight. I'm trying to decide what to do with it. My brother wants to go one direction. I want to go other. Hopefully it doesn't get ugly, but we'll see. But it was interesting listening to your tenant nightmares. I'm going, I've never been in the rental market. And yeah. I got a daughter, but she's going to school in Edmonton. It would have been perfect. But funny, some of the stuff I hear tonight, strategies, investment, businesses, lifestyle, jobs, rentals, light industrial, big one for me because we don't have any opportunities. And damn, I wish my dad would have bought a place in Whistler, but he didn't. Dad, come on, man. So yeah, I live just down the street from here. I grew up in North Burnaby, so I've always been in the area. I've seen a lot of change, obviously. Boots on the ground within Coquitlam, being in City Hall. It's been incredible. It's scary to some people, and it's a huge opportunity for others. So it's just where you are in your life and within your business. So I'm going to talk a little bit about an economic development strategy that we developed for Coquitlam. We didn't have one. So it's kind of scary going in anything without some kind of strategy to guide you and lead you. No different than an investment strategy. If you're going in blind, you're in big trouble. So I'm going to take some steps to get there, and what we got and what we did and how we got there and kind of what is important in Coquitlam and where we're going in Coquitlam. So Coquitlam at a glance, if you live here, you sell here, you invest here, you know it's a great place. We're lucky. We can sell lifestyle. We can sell things to do. We're the geographic center of Metro Vancouver, obviously serviced by SkyTrain, West Coast Express, Highway 1, Highway 7, no bridges, no tunnels. I do a lot of skiing on the North Shore, and those bridges get me every time. It terrifies me. We have about 150 residents. We're growing. We're one of the fastest growing communities in Metro Van. We issue 7,000 business licenses a year of varying types. I'll kind of break it down a little bit as we go. We're diverse. 44% of our residents identify as a visible minority, which is kind of cool. That's reflected in our festivals, events, and our local businesses. If you walk down Glen Drive here, you can get a food from almost anywhere in the world, which to me is a pretty neat thing to sell. Lifestyle. We have a provincial park in our backyard. Pinecone Burke Provincial Park is undeveloped. It's a hidden gem. I'm telling you, it's going to change our community when it does get together and the master plan from BC Parks is complete. Very few communities have a provincial park within 15 minutes of a SkyTrain station. We do. That park, there's a trail. I would never do it because I'm not quite up to that level. There's a trail that goes from Burke Mountain to Squamish. So long term, I see West Coast Trail from Coquitlam, style of West Coast Trail, all the way to Squamish. That's another selling point. You have an exciting mix of retail, restaurants, festivals, and events, and multi-modes of transportation. So when I'm selling to investors and they're coming in looking, why should I move my business to Coquitlam? We're telling them a lot about lifestyle. And you know what? A lot of their employees live out here. They don't want to commute. Yes, there's hybrid work options. But I'm finding even at the city, we do offer hybrid work. A lot of people are coming back. Some come in 2 days a week, to attract employees. We have to. It was a big step for the city to go, hey, we're going to allow hybrid work, particularly in a unionized environment. You have to put a lot of trust in staff that the work's going to get done, and you know if it's going to get done. But to attract planners and engineers and all these staff that make things work, that get permits approved, you have to do things and you have to attract them to come here because it's competitive at the city. City jobs used to be, hey, you could put a listing and it's filled. We have a long list of places jobs to fill. A little bit of context for Coquitlam. We represent 5.6% of the regional population, 4.7% of regional jobs, which means we got commuters. And that's a problem. Traffic, movement, people don't want to commute. They want to work close to home. I used to commute a ton. I worked for BC Ferries. I was to Victoria. I was to Tawasin, to Richmond. I had a young daughter. It was tough. And so when the city job came up, I'm like, I'm going to take it. It's 5 minutes and it's a game changer. So if we can do that for our residents, if we can build places for them to work, let's face it, the area is not cheap to live in. It's expensive. So we have to look at how do we develop good jobs, high paying jobs, quality jobs, but also opportunity for our small businesses to have access to staff for frontline work, servers at Brown's, retail in the mall. Those are equally as important. So those are the kind of things we deal with at the city. Land inventory, like a lot of suburbs or places outside the city, long time ago, a lot of land was put towards residential, which is great. People need a place to live. The challenge is not a lot of was put to employment lands, that we call them. And we're challenged by that. Institutional, which is schools, city hall, what have you, represents 11%, industrial 10%, and commercial 6%. There's 7.1 hectares of vacant industrial land. And industrial land, I think someone mentioned it previously, is if you can get it, take it. The vacancy rate in Coquitlam for industrial land right now is pretty well 0%. If I get a call from a business going, Eric, I want to move to Coquitlam, I need so many square feet. I said, I can't do it right now. I don't have it. And that's sad. That's tough to say. And same thing with office space even. We get, I need 2 floors of office space. I need 1 floor AAA office space. I don't have any. We're waiting for developers, and it's a bit of a cat and mouse game going. They're going with the demand's not there, and we're saying, well, we're getting calls. Well, show me. We will build it. Will they come? And it's a bit of a tussle. With the new provincial housing legislation, and rightly so, a lot of efforts being put on finding housing for people. People need a place to live in order to supply workers. But I'm going, don't lose sight of the fact we need places for people to work. We need employment space in Coquitlam, in the Tri-Cities. A little bit of what we sell. Oh, this slide didn't show through, but that's okay. Yeah, hang on. I got this. This is kind of a cool slide. The numbers didn't convert. Well, that's okay. Always bring back. All right. So the yellow is this. Oh, the whole thing got flipped. The yellow is our commercial, retail, and service. So that's a big part of our workforce. It's about 34%. Industrial's in the green, which is a big one as well. That's approximately 31%. And the blue is institutional. So that's me and schools and Douglas College, and what have you. And the light green is commercial office. So one of our smaller ones. But that's how we're broke down as far as employment within the city. So industrial, this is a big one for us. This building by Westbuild is in the Fraser Mills, the new development that BD's putting together. This is a 2-story industrial building. This is probably the future, or it is the future within Metro Vancouver, because single-story industrial is fully occupied, and there's really no more industrial land to have from Vancouver out to, you know, almost Maple Ridge and even getting into Mission. As I mentioned, vacancy rate has fallen to pretty well 0%. Well, net asking rates, and I think that might be an old number, it's probably gone up since then, has risen a lot. So you've been maybe hearing lately about smaller places that moved into M1 zone or manufacturing zone, like breweries. Breweries struggling now with rate increases because selling beer, it's fun, it's cool, but it doesn't pay the bills necessarily as it used to or it once did. So we have a problem with affordability within industrial too, and it's not cool to lose small businesses like that either from rising costs, but they're facing that pinch as well. So it's becoming viable now. Developers are going, you know what, maybe it's time to do a 2-story, a 3-story. PC Urban is building, this is just the Barnett Highway here. And if you drive the Barnett Highway, you'll notice they're leveling it with a lot of sand. That's going to be light industrial in there within an urban setting, which is very cool. We tried to push them for 2-story. They said, no, we're going to do 1, which is their choice. And it's going to be fully stratified, I guess you could say.
Why did they only opt for 1 month?
I think it was money. I think at the time they, you know what, is there options? You know, is there enough demand to make this work? I thought it was such a good site. I mean, it is within striking distance of SkyTrain. Eventually, there's going to be another SkyTrain at Falcon and Barnett Highway. There's already one, as we know, here. You know, they did their analysis, and I think they figured that was the way to go. But I just, the amount that we see come in for requests for industrial space, that M1 zone, is very high. Commercial retail, you know, obviously Amazon has taken its toll on a lot of retailers. Some bricks and mortar have done well to go, hey, I'm going to go online sales, but people still want to go in and touch and feel and return. What we're looking at in City Center eventually, as we build this out, the City Center area plan, residents have told us it's street level retail. We want to have an experience. When you look at Park Royal, if you've been there lately, some of the malls out by the airport, it's outdoors. You're going between store to store. There's still demand. It's still busy, and people want something to do. So you know, it's not dead. Again, when I see an open commercial space come available, it's filled pretty quick. Usually small businesses, new investors, people going to give their first shot or expanding their business with another location. We still have demand for that. With population growth, services, entertainment, the visitor economy, you know, when we did an outreach to residents, what do you want? What do you want in City Center in particular? This, as high rises go up and people want amenities, it's a nightlife, a night economy. Where are those businesses? That's what we want. The challenge is up till now, you know, if you walk down Glen Drive right now, you'll see a lot of businesses that close at 5. They're not open weekends. Doctors, dentists, those should be on the second floor, not ground floor. But you know, they moved in quickly, and if you're going to get, if you're a landowner, you're going to take what you can get. So we're looking at ways to, is there a way to kind of control the vibrancy of street level shopping? And some of the great cities in the world, you walk out at night and it's lively, it's hopping, it's fun. Commercial office. We're small in the commercial office space. Like I said, we don't have any AAA office, and that's what people want. The downtown office market, I think vacancy is double digit now. It's not anywhere near it is here in Calgary, and they're starting to convert office space to residential, which just gives me nightmares that would happen, but it does. Coquitlam, we have designated and as part of Morgard's build out and the build out at Marcon on the corner where Coquitlam Chrysler is, we're saying there has to be office. And we're going, you build your office and then residential, and there's a bit of back and forth with those folks, but we need it. We desperately need office space and places for people to work. Vacancy rate right now in Coquitlam, I think it's about 5-6% for office space. There's not a lot around. So again, there is considerable competition right now. The pandemic made a difference. People are working from home, but I think, and from a lot of the studies I've seen, there still is demand for office. Some of the challenges we're trying to address as a city, like I mentioned, working closer to home is driving commercial office. We hope to see that start to get going as we go along. Building a vibrant community. People want to live. If they're going to move here and they're going to spend or they're going to invest, and you're trying to sell space here, we have to have good parks. We have to have good trails. Demand on rec centers. Our pool up the street at CCAC, massive demand. So we're building a rec center up in Burke Mountain to meet that demand. We have the YMCA that was built. So it's an interesting being working within the city to see that planning and looking ahead 10, 20, 30 years, what we're going to need, how many sheets of ice, how many pickleball courts, all this kind of thing. Pickleball, big, invest in it. Obviously, industrial scarcity is a big issue for us, infrastructure and a lack of hotels. And we talked about Airbnbs and the demand. I think at one point, Coquitlam had 500-600 listings, most of them illegal, to operate a Airbnb or a short-term rental in Coquitlam. We had quite strict policy already. We didn't chase people down. It was on a complaint-only basis. But now with the provincial legislation, and I was talking to Kelly about this, I get both sides. Short-term rentals take away places for people to live long-term. But the reason there's so many short-term rentals is we have no hotels here. We have 1, 2, maybe 3. And it's not enough. And so people come here for a tournament. Kids have a big tournament in town, 50, 60 teams, and they're staying in Surrey, they're staying in Burnaby, and that's a hit on us because they're using our facilities, but not spending their money here. So the next hotel we have come in is a 150-room hotel at the Marcon site, Coquitlam Chrysler site, but that's a long ways away. And so we did a hotel. We did a study to see if the viability of a hotel in city center by CBRE, and it came back saying 2 hotels, no problem. They'd do well. Our one hotel on North Road, Executive Inn, they're running hot, 80-90% occupancy, which for a hotel is not great. They can't take rooms out of service to clean them. Well, not to clean them, but to reno them. It's just, it's great. We're doing well, but we'd be okay with a couple more in here, which is something we're working on. So then we're getting into what is economic development. What do I do? Programs, policies, or activities that seek to improve the economic well-being and quality for community. We're kind of hopefully the voice of business. Business will call us with opportunities for expansion. Eric, I need more space. Eric, I'm having a problem with building permits. I'm having issue with licenses. Okay, let's go talk. Let's figure this out a little bit. And it's usually, sometimes we just need to listen. Sometimes they just want to give us an earful and then they're happy. But sometimes they have legitimate concerns that we can work through and help them with. Zoning questions, permitting, sign questions, all those kind of things. Hopefully we can work with our internal departments to work that through, and with council, obviously. My department also includes film. So film's a big part of business in Coquitlam. We have Fire Country filming now, from Elf, Deadpool, The Good Doctor, Virgin River, are all filmed in Coquitlam. So if you're ever watching TV and you go, that looks like Burke Mountain or the mall, it could very well be. It's a lucrative business for us. We do often point location scouts to homes, to businesses, to land. If you have it, if you're interested, let us know. We can get you on a list. It's fun working with film. They're usually pretty good, fair to work with. Tourism and visitor economy. So any festival or event that happens in Coquitlam runs through our division. And then corporate partnerships sponsorships through the city as well. So we were tasked with putting together a strategy for economic development. We never had one. And you can kind of see with this my colleague found this one. It's a lot of moving parts, but at the end of the day, successful local businesses rely on community and successful development. The city plays a role in a lot of that. And we have to make sure we're providing enough for businesses to be successful, for the community to be happy, and also work with the developers to make the process of working with the city fair and moving forward, that we're not stalling. This is one my colleague put together. When he first put it together, I didn't quite like it, but I go, okay, I think I can use it. Basically, the local economic bucket. Things go in: tourism, foreign investment, exports of goods and services, things that are made here, produced here, and exported, and things go out. Travel, cross-border shopping, imports that are coming in, Amazon purchases that don't really benefit the community. This is kind of how our local economy in a nutshell is working right now. And we want to keep that mix going, more going in than obviously going out. So council goes, well, we need a strategy. And, you know, we're hearing this, that, and the other. We need this, we need that. So we said, okay, let's go. The economic action plan was 14 years old. If you look back 14 years, the world in Coquitlam was a lot different than it is now. We took this through the pandemic. Obviously, it hit a lot of businesses hard. It hit a lot of people hard. We had to kind of adjust and work with what happened and what's come out of that and the changes. The economic development strategy basically engaged the community in developing a vision for economic success. The economic development strategy is our roadmap for the next 5 years for now. And it's been in works for over a year. It was just approved in May. So we did community engagement with most of our projects, big projects, whether it's transportation plan, climate action plan. We talked to the community. In this case, it was a lot of the business community. We had a project webpage, we had online surveys, and they gave us kind of some feedback. What was good, what was bad, and what's some of the opportunities within Coquitlam. Some of the weaknesses, and then I can get the strengths. We probably all know the strengths if we live and work here. There's the bedroom community perception. It's a suburb. There's not a lot to do, et cetera, et cetera. It's no fun. How do we overcome that? Isolated employment clusters across a wide geography. There's employment cluster in city center, kind of North Road, Burquitlam, and obviously United Boulevard's our big one for industry. That's where most of our jobs are. How do we grow that? Is there ways to connect those so they're not so far apart? We're expensive. People recognize that. I get it. There's challenges, obviously. You look at investment in mission. You mentioned Kitimat. There's places that people go, you know what? Maybe my investment dollars are better off there. It can go a little better ROI. Some of the opportunities: attracting green tech, sustainability-focused business. There is a steady interest in office space as far as the strengths, community diversity, supporting destination retail. So we took all these, go, okay, what do we do with these? The public survey also told us, you know, hey, how business friendly are you? These results are funny. Non-business owners said we're kind of less business friendly than actually business owners. So maybe there's a bit of a perception problem that we're not business friendly, but we're working to change that. Overall, most business owners we speak to are fairly happy with how we do things in Coquitlam. And again, it just goes back to how do we support commercial office. I've established my business here. I've been here for 20 years. I want to grow it. I need employees. How do I get them? Can you talk to schools that are producing students? I need engineers. This is the kind of staff that I need. But I have to go get them from other, from the United States or other countries. And that's a challenge for our local business or just frontline staff. I can't find anyone to work here. And then a lot of improving municipal infrastructure, livability, transportation, traffic. How do I move my goods? Do you have micro mobility options? It's what my staff is asking for. And some of our biggest challenges, which it's not different than most municipalities, is kind of this feedback we got. So we put it into place. We kind of came up with 3 themes. People, obviously people make it work. Businesses, residents, visitors. Place, make sure we have a good place here. It's clean, it's safe. People feel that they can do business here. And partnerships with the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, provincial partners, and what have you. We got a lot of key action items, a lot of things to go after. It's been a little affected by the recent legislation on what we can and can't do, but here is a focus: advanced manufacturing, construction materials, food and nutrition. We have quite a large food and nutrition industry down off United Boulevard, vitamins, food processing. Obviously, film is big, visual and digital effects is big. Tourism and clean tech, some of the things we see or have been inquiring about moving into Coquitlam. We're a little bit, when we look at lifestyle, people look at us, a little bit like North Shore. North Shore in the early days, we have the backdrop of the mountains, lots of green space, lots of park space. It leads to certain companies coming to look here and go, that's the lifestyle I want. People out on the trails, they're hiking, they're biking. That's kind of the brand we want to bring in, the employees we want to attract. So we came up with an action plan, guided by council, kind of 5 things that we need to accomplish over the next 2 to 3 years. Competitive study, where do we fit in with tax policy? How competitive are we with zoning bylaws against other communities? This will be interesting. We're going to get going on this shortly. Right now, if I had to guess, we're somewhere in the middle. We're not the best, we're not the worst, but we want to start moving up so we come across and are more business friendly, maybe a little more affordable, easier to get in. Is there old zoning issues that restrict businesses opening here or expanding here? New business types. I'll go back to breweries. When Port Moody started to get a proliferation of breweries, council going, Eric, why don't we have more breweries? I said, our zoning doesn't allow it. We are very restrictive where breweries can go. So they said, okay, well, let's change that. They basically opened up, you can put a brewery in almost any zone in the city, no problem. But by then it was a little late. So we have 1. Port Moody, I think, has 6 or 7. Port Coquitlam has 5. But that's how quickly you have to be on the ball to see what's coming. And that's one thing we want to be on top of. We need to promote better. If I have a foreign investor coming, hey, tell me about Coquitlam, I want to know more, I'm not going to send them to our city site because that's where you go for swim lessons and when garbage pickup is. I'm not going to necessarily send them to my tourism site because, again, they're looking what's available, what are your zoning, I need this information. So this will be a big build out for us. We'll be looking for feedback from the business community on as we build this out. You look at Invest Surrey, Invest Calgary, Invest Richmond, they all have strong branding and sites. We do all business outreach. If you own a business in Coquitlam, you know one that, hey, I'd love to talk to the city, I have questions, give me a call, we'll send someone down there, I'll go, my colleague Edward will go. This is where we get intelligence. You can read every study on the planet. Until you know what's going on in your community, you can't really make proper decisions. So this is a big one for us. It's really getting down and listening to what they're succeeding with and what they're struggling with. Business improvement areas, BIAs. This is an interesting one. We have 1 BIA in Coquitlam. It's the Austin Heights BIA. BIAs are kind of an interesting, the way it works is they identify a zone. So this is in gray, a zone. This is the Coquitlam North Road BIA proposal. Someone's looking to start one there. They set a budget within that zone. The city will go, okay, to get that budget, any property owner is going to pay this much into the BIA. That's passed on usually because of triple net to the business owner. And the BIA then does marketing. They may do security, beautification. If you look at Austin Heights, they have the signage, they have a holidays event. So BIAs, there's about 22 in Vancouver. There's 1 in Port Coquitlam on Shaughnessy, 1 here. There's none in Port Moody. I think there's 2 in Burnaby. So this is one of the things we'll be looking at supporting. We'll do seed money for BIAs because it's a great way to engage the business community. You'll have 1 voice to call the city saying, hey, we're having issue with crime, litter, graffiti. Hey, can you help us? We'll send someone up. A lot of times right now, if it's a single business, small business owner, they don't know how to navigate the city. They don't know how to navigate, who do I talk to about a cracked sidewalk? Who do I talk to about illegal parking? And so BIA does that for them. So that's why we support business improvement areas developing. Investment attraction, we work with Invest Vancouver. This is out of Metro Vancouver. We also have our own business growth person who goes out there to hunt down businesses to come to the city that we think is a good fit. But this is a group that we work with as well. They've been around for a couple of years now. They've also identified key industries, kind of similar to what we had, which was good. We did ours separately from them. So we work closely to them to look at businesses that we want to attract to the city, get into the city, high-paying jobs, green economy, agri-tech, trades. These are the type of businesses we want to get into the city to support our residents. I think a couple more. We have a tourism strategy that expired in 2020. We'll be redoing that in a couple years. Festivals and events strategy. We're bursting at the seams at Town Center Park. That's our #1 festival site. It's pretty well booked from May through to September, which is good. Yeah, you know, yeah. Do you live around there?
No, we tried to book it.
Yeah, okay, so yeah. It's a good problem to have, but we have to go, you know, at some point, it's also a park for residents to go to. If you've been to Town Center Park, it's kind of split in two. There's the sports section and the festival section, and then just passive park use. So yeah, to book space in there is tough. There's SkyTrain that rolls right in there. There's the Performance Plaza. We have to look at, you know, how do we strategically work with festivals that want to come in, what fits, what doesn't, what's good for the city, what maybe is not going to be a fit, or is there another park or another area in the city that we can put these. We have a corporate partners program, which is basically a sponsorship program. If you're interested in that and you have a business or you're looking for exposure through city events or other city programs, please call us. We can work with you on that. We definitely have some good corporate partners on a lot of our programs. And that's it. That's me. If you want to get a hold of me, it's my mobile, my email. And if you want to learn about more economic development, again, I don't know why the city, we put in this 570, but that'll change when I get my new site.
All right, excellent. Thank you. We do have, I'd say, about 5 or so minutes. If anyone does have any questions for Eric, we might as well. We've got the city here. We might as well ask the question. Rainer shot his hand up.
Well, you know, the economic, the tourism.
Yep.
It just begs, why aren't you allowing Airbnb?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I run it and I see how much money my guests spend. A fortune. They go out to eat.
Yeah.
One hotel, 2 hotels is a joke. Same with Burnaby.
Yeah.
You really, the small percentage of housing versus the massive amount of economic activity. Anyways, great presentation, but you know my bias, of course.
Of course, yep.
But I'm just curious, why are you pushing for more accommodations? Because cruise ships come and drop off thousands of guests, and they're all getting squeezed out. They're going to go to Seattle, or they're not going to spend a week in Vancouver.
Well, we even see it, like the executive in their hotel, their rates in the summer is $350, $400. That's in Coquitlam, which is, you know, not to disparage, but it's we're seeing it. And so it's this push and pull. I was saying to our bylaws team and our planning, I said, I get it. I said, but I keep reiterating there's a reason that there's these demand for short-term rentals and they're staying here for a week. Sometimes it's visitors, sometimes it's people looking to relocate. Maybe they got a job here, they need somewhere for a month before they find a place to live. It's a real challenge. So when the province came out with that, I said, ooh, okay. You know, we were restricted, but we weren't enforcing, right? It's just, we knew they were there. But now with the provincial legislation, again, it'd be on a complaint basis, but it's got a little more teeth. And so, yeah, it's tough.
So what is the length of time that someone would be able to Airbnb if they want to or whatever?
Right now, Coquitlam allows you, the only legal is you live in the house, you have a room in the house, and that's it.
So
How many days?
I looked on we don't have days specified. I think it's just so cut and dry that it's either a bed and breakfast type or technically we don't allow it. So there's no days or there's no tied into that. It's one or the other.
I think read online that you can if there's no kitchen and if it's only 2 guests.
Yeah, so the suites, short-term rental with a suite is not allowed. Short-term rental with kind of a bed and breakfast again, that, you know, the owners live, there's a shared kitchen, you can come out and maybe make something, but the suite itself is for long-term rental.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, that's
Most people will go for that, yeah.
no, I know.
Also, the hotel recently increased by 50% this summer.
Yeah.
Because of this, like seriously, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I love Coquitlam. We don't first just moved a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But, we lived here for many years.
So you don't live here now. You did though.
No, we
Cheers to Zana here.
Ah, yeah. We would never do that.
It's an amazing community.
It's fun. Yeah. When I moved here, I wasn't sure. I grew up in North Burnaby, and I said, okay, if I'm going to afford places, I'll come as far as here, and I've embraced it. I love it. Yeah.
Besides, Coquitlam has a best mayor anywhere.
I agree. I like him. I get along with Richard great. Yeah, I saw that. Right? Yes.
What are the police rates for office?
I had it, and I took it out because I think it was dated, and I'm trying to remember because I was looking at. I think that's dated. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. But it's comparatively speaking across Metro Van, we're one of the highest. But I can't remember the number now. I wish I didn't take it out of the presentation, but I pulled it quickly.
I'm very surprised by that. I thought office space.
Yeah.
Second question: where's a good hotel site?
Oh man. You know what?
I always believe in government.
Yeah.
We should all get together.
We do have land we have city-owned land. One spot that I'm really curious to see if they're going to do it is at not the Hard Rock, Great Canadian Casino. Yeah. They've been sniffing around, and then when it was the Hard Rock, they said, Eric, it's not the Hard Rock. No, it's the Great Canadian Casino now. So they went back to just recently. When it was a Hard Rock, the Hard Rock brand said the only type of hotel you can put on there is a Hard Rock hotel. And I love Coquitlam, but they're probably not going to get a Hard Rock hotel in here. Now that they're Great Canadian Casino, they're looking for someone, maybe either they're going to do it or allow an investor to do it, and they can have whatever brand. It's a Sandman Suites to a Marriott I think that area would work incredibly well down there. We have city land here. We call it the Four Corners. So City Hall, CCAC, we're the Evergreen Cultural Center here. And across from City Hall is a parking lot beside SkyTrain. That's city-owned land. We're looking, what can we do there? When ICBC was sniffing around for new space because they were leaving North Van, we called them and said, come to Coquitlam, we have space, but it looks like they're going to go to Burnaby or Vancouver. But I mean, a hotel, I think either down on United Boulevard area, not only because of the business and the activity at the casino, but Planet Ice is down the street. Tournaments, it's right off the highway. I think it would work. But I'm telling you, anywhere in city center or now up in the Burquitlam area by SFU, the Burquitlam station, I think is spots. And maybe a mixed use hotel. Like I think residential, commercial, that kind of, but I just love the activity that a hotel brings to a city. It's later night action. People do their conference. Let's go out for a drink. Maybe there's a wedding or whatever. So I'd love to see another hotel. Yeah.
Ray, you better write that number down.
I was ready for Airbnb. I knew it. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So it's two-parter. Burke Mountain, like how long do you think before that's going to be fully developed out? And then what's the next phase of you going further up the mountain and kind of releasing
okay, so
phase of Burke Mountain, or
I'd say the Burke build out complete 20-25 years. Yeah, and so Westbuild owns a lot of the land that's going to start going up towards the provincial park boundaries. And this is why we've been bugging the BC Parks to say, hey, it's sitting. We need a master plan because we're going to have just in the Tri-Cities 250,000 people looking at that provincial park. Do you need water? We can supply all this. What kind of roads? But it'll go as high as what's called conifer roads. So if you're familiar with the Burke Mountain area, I do a lot of mountain biking up there. So some of the trails are going to be gone. But right now there's Harper into the Gun Club. And eventually the Gun Club, will no longer be there. They just renewed their time with us. It's Crown land, but we approve it. That kind of area will be built out with Westbuild unless they change their mind. And then it's going to push east a little bit more as well.
It won't be third by any other areas?
Not really. There's a few, like that lower part of the provincial park where there's still trees. Well, that's some of Westfield land, and they'll be, assuming unless they want to just keep it as a wilderness, is going to be taking some trees down there too. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we have time for one more question if anyone does have any. No. All right. Well,
If you have any
thanks so
more,
much.
you know where to find me.
You betcha. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it. It's one of those, I always find it's a special treat when you get someone from the city come out because, again, it's like we talk as much as we can as agents and as advisors as to what we're seeing coming down the pipeline. But you got someone who's front row and center, who's part of that planning, that it really makes a world of difference for investors such as yourself to know and see what's going on and make the appropriate decisions. Like maybe now Ray's going to be in the hotel business here very soon. There we go. This might be the opportunity, right? So that's the kind of stuff you get when you get city representatives out. All right, we're going to keep this rolling here. I think I typed a question and took it away from my presentation. There we go. All right, we're going to move on to the hot deal, and then we'll let you guys go. We still have more pizza. We have more drinks. We do have a hard stop that we have to be out by 9 o'clock. So keep that in mind when we wrap this up. So the hot deal this month, is this gem out in Aldergrove. When I say gem, you can tell based on the photos here already, right? It's an absolute gem. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,590 square feet, 4,500 square foot lot, built in 1977. Absolute renovator's dream. So if you guys are looking to get into something, I see 2 strategies here. 1, great little fix and flip, or 2, maybe a good little fix and burr, right? So buy, renovate, rent, refinance it, and repeat. So we did the numbers based on a fix and flip at this time. So we anticipate, the numbers work if you can purchase it in and around $760,000. They are asking for a little bit more than that, but they're not getting a ton of action, it seems. Of course, as the market continues to heat up a little bit, that could change. Based on the recent sales in the area, which Kelly, when she was doing the numbers, she walks over to me and she goes, here's the 2 most recent sales. I said, great, I've seen both of those already. I was in them showing them. So I do have experience. We anticipate around a 950. We did take a little bit off just to be on the safe side. Down payment about 152,000. That's 20%. Purchase costs, that includes your land transfer tax, legal, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspection costs, things like that. Renovation around $85,000. It is a small property, so you should be able to get there. There's ability to build that 3rd bedroom, like really close it off, which will add a lot of value. Time frame around this to get it all done, we budget around 4 months in this case. Selling costs, obviously commissions, legal, everything like that. Plus, you'll get a little bit of a recapture on that 4 months with your mortgage. And the total profit we anticipate on this look to be around $25,843. So that would be if you buy it, renovate it, flip it, and get the numbers we anticipate. Maybe you'll come in under budget. Maybe you'll sell it for higher. But this seems like a pretty good, solid number for a flip in our current market. However, what I see as a great opportunity is if you buy this thing, hold it as a rental as well. There's some possibility because your mortgage is going to be lower at you're buying it at the 760. Hold it for a while since you're already going to get a higher rent because of the renovation. And then, of course, when the time is right, those rates have come down a little bit. You can refinance, pull some money out of this thing, and keep it for longer. If you'd like access to the spreadsheet that we used, feel free to grab your phone and scan that. And in fact, while you're grabbing your phones, we've got some more QR codes for you guys. So I'll wait to see people diving into their pockets right now, doing the COVID QR, craze. Everyone should get access to that. Going once. If you don't capture it before I flip it, of course, just send me an email and I'll send it over to you. This is what it looks like. Again, you see that beautiful red carpet right there, the old floor, all the carpet in here. Now, what's funny was when you look at it online, it actually looks much nicer because they digitally stage it all. So you got to get through the digital staging. It's actually a pink kitchen, like almost salmon pink. And then look at the old toilet seat that they've been like bandaging up. They've been like putting it back together. So there's definitely some age to this. Probably old wood, yeah. Wood seat, and they've if it cracked, they just bandaged it basically. So this has some character, but it definitely is in some dire need of some renovation. Bring it back to life. Make it for a great rental. Make it for a great home for somebody to live in. All right, again, flip your phones out. More QRs coming your way. Scan here if you want to follow us on social media. We're on all the socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So that will access all of our social channels. Follow us there. And there we go. And again, we do have a online community. So if you join us for our private Facebook group, in this group, you have the opportunity to engage with each other. You know, if you've got questions, you can post them in the chats. I do a live video once a week as well, giving you the boots on the ground, what is happening in the market. I'll wait and go. So that's at 2:30 on Mondays. This last month I've been a little off just with our brokerage move, but we're going to get back to that. Monday morning market update. What we do here, you almost have to wait, and I go through the stats that just happened. What's nice about these Monday morning market updates when I'm live on Facebook, you're getting the news as it happens, what I experienced in the market. Let's talk about what recent changes just happened. You know, the funniest thing I always say to Kelly, as soon as the governments make any sort of change in legislation, I get a phone call right away saying, please fully explain this to me. I said, I just saw the news 2 minutes ago too. So this gives me a chance to digest it and go through live with you guys. Our next meeting is going to be April 18th. We don't know the location yet. It might be back here or it might be in our new location. We have to find out once it's built. So the best way to find out, keep engaged, either join us on meetup.com or be part of that Facebook group, because that's where we notify everyone of the locations, the meeting dates, everything like that. But April 18th is our next meeting. That basically wraps it up for me tonight. More food, more drink. We have to be out at 9 o'clock. Thanks so much. And again, those of you guys joining us online, thank you so much for sticking out. And again, with the technical difficulty we had for a bit there, make sure you guys follow us on all of our socials. Subscribe to this YouTube channel that you're watching it on right now. That helps us make sure that we keep that YouTube channel running. And we'll see you guys hopefully live next time or back on YouTube.